All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for joining us today. We still got some people coming in, so we'll keep this going. Just a quick introduction. My name is Zach Alexander, and I'm our Senior Content Manager here at High Touch. This morning, we're going to be talking about some important things. I know it's on all of your minds, cyber security and cyber insurance. So just a quick introduction to our panel. We'll have Andrew Kon, who's our Director of Professional Services here at High Touch, Jason Fenoglio, who is our Director of Information Systems, and then also from ArmorPoint, John Crowley, who is their Senior Partner Development Manager. Keep things interesting and engaging. We'll have a few polls throughout, so watch out for those, and then we'll have some time at the end to wrap up with some Q&A. So feel free to drop your questions in the chat, and then we will make sure to get to them at the end. Looks like waiting room's slowing down. So with that, Andrew, I'm going to hand everything off to you.
Yep, awesome. Thank you. Hello, my name is Andrew Kon. I am the Director of Professional Services for High Touch Technologies. Been with High Touch for 5 years. IT industry-wise, I've had over 20 years of experience, focused on client engagement, business development, and I'm currently in charge of our VCIO account management, professional services, and implementation management group.
I am Jason Fenoglio. I'm Director of Information Security for High Touch. I've been with the company for about 5.5 years. I've been about 30 years in IT, starting all the way from the help desk to large organizations, professional services. Decided to land into security because security is in everything. I have a passion of supporting our clients and High Touch ourselves, ensuring that we can secure our data. And I'm all about teaching everything I know to help companies protect their data.
Awesome. Yeah. And my name's John Crowley. I am one of the senior partner development managers with ArmorPoint. I've been with ArmorPoint for about over 7 years now, and most of my background expertise is all in managed services and cybersecurity. Over the years, I've helped hundreds of private and public organizations increase their overall cybersecurity posture, gain more insight into the threat landscape, and definitely have helped from a cyber insurance standpoint and reviewing a lot of those applications and helping organizations implement the things needed to truly get cyber insurance qualified. So looking forward to the webinar today, and thanks again for joining.
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and kick this off. We'll start off with the question of the hour. Why does cyber insurance matter? So in today's threat landscape, there's no organization that's immune. Cyber attacks strike businesses of every size industry. Even small businesses are lucrative targets. Outside threats can grab data that can be worth up to 6 or even 7 figures out on the dark web. The impact goes far beyond technical disruption, leading to costly data loss, operation downtime, and lasting reputational damage. Cyber insurance provides a critical safety net, helping organizations recover quickly and absorb the financial shock of a breach. Settle in and learn how combining strong technical controls and well-aligned cybersecurity policies built around proven industry frameworks can protect your business and reduce your overall insurance costs.
So one of the things we hear
Yep.
often, like right, what Jason was saying is like everyone's a target now. We hear a lot, businesses say, "Well, we're small, no one's going to target us." But we see that isn't the case because small business can be a gateway to larger businesses. I mean, larger businesses are always using smaller businesses to help out their businesses to continue to grow. You're just a lot of times an aspect of it, hackers utilize you as a tool to get to the bigger party. So
Yeah.
keep in mind as well.
Yeah, it definitely, cyber insurance really matters because, even the best defenses can fail. And so this truly is, a safety net, especially for any size organization. But honestly, it ensures that your business can survive the financial and legal ramifications of a cyber attack. And so it really is that safety net overall and very important. So, where to start when an incident happens? Personally, I'm sure I can speak for a lot of us on the panel today. I've been that first call before. I've seen these types of things happen in real time, and I've been the person that have gotten the call, "Hey, we're in the middle of an incident. We need your help." And so, the first thing, there's really two first things. And so I'm going to take one step back before hopefully we get to the point of an incident ever. There should be an incident response plan in place. And so that if as long as you have that incident response plan in place, it helps you stay grounded and will help you know, hey, if something happens, I can go right to that and it'll tell me what to do. We've practiced this. So that's the step back. However, in the event that an incident does happen, there's really a formula. It's called contain, communicate, coordinate, then recover. And so the first thing that you have to do before anything is obviously isolate it to the best of your ability. Make sure that the spread has stopped, and so that is contained and mitigated to where it started essentially. From there, that is when you're going to most likely look to call your cyber insurance to start a claim. Um, at that point, they might call in their own backup, but this is where you're going to want to definitely get that incident response plan pulled out. You're going to want to talk with IT and security team and anyone else that are key stakeholders for the business, and make sure that you have everything coordinated in place. Now, once you start a claim through cyber insurance, they're typically going to bring in their partners, or they're going to bring in the responders that are going to truly step in and try to take over the situation for you. So something that is really important for you to make sure that you do throughout this process is document everything. And so, one of the things that it is so important to make sure that when you contain, you're not wiping anything, right? We don't want to get rid of evidence. We don't want to get rid of um, data that could help us identify, where did this start? What is the root cause? And so it is important that if you are getting in that first step, containing and as calling the cyber insurance, you need to make sure you are documenting everything, every step that you've taken. Not only will that documentation help ensure that you can identify steps that have been followed and things that you've done, but actually can even help with the claim, because if in the event that not everything's documented and maybe something disappeared, your cyber insurance, depending on who they are, may find that as a reason to not allow you to file that claim and not be reimbursed for those efforts and things that are happening.
And for some that do have cyber insurance on here, you may not know in some instances, some of the policyholders will not authorize your claim if you've already started remediating without getting a hold of them first. So do be careful if you do have a cyber insurance policy that you truly know what steps you can follow. So containing is always allowed, but like John said, don't try to wipe, don't try to, lose the data that's there or the history of what could have happened to be compromised, because the cyber insurance may deny it because they said that they can't track to see how it started or how it came to fruition.
Yeah, and it's a difficult thing to do. You want to get back up and running as soon as possible, but a lot of times that could be disastrous later on, especially if you lose that data that was actually inflicted. And then I'd like to add two more things to what John said. Your IR plan should be in like a break glass binder or somewhere that is off the network, because there's a good possibility you won't have a network to access to get that IR plan. And in the IR plan, we actually do have a template that we do give out to our clients, where you want to put your policy number and the emergency outreach number on the document, so you're not fumbling around for that information whenever they ask for it. And then second, on documenting everything, the most important part of that incident is having your lessons learned, because you can always go back and determine what did we do wrong, what are our remediation goals in order to keep this from happening again.
I think the other side about keeping it on the network too, Jason, is it's the possibility of the bad threat actors looking for those policies as well, because they could use it to kind of counter do what you're trying to do to get your systems back up. So
Yeah.
remember, if you have a playbook out there and they're looking for things like that, they could be stopping you from getting back up as well because they know what your plan is.
And the other thing too is part of that IR plan will have an established channel for updates and communication because you don't want to be using potentially compromised systems like your email, for example, to communicate because these bad actors might be taking that information and seeing everything that you're doing. So typically it'll have in your IR plan will have that communication channel that is going to be used in emergencies.
All right, we're going to transition to our first poll. So, does your business have a cyber insurance policy? So everyone should see a box popping up here shortly. So yes, you do. No, you don't. Considering, or some of you came on because you have cybersecurity already, but you you don't think a cyber insurance is needed.
Already.
Right.
Awesome.
So we have
That's
quite a
great.
few that said yes, and then a couple on the considering. At least no one says no, I have cybersecurity. So all right.
There was only one wrong answer. No one chose it.
Yes.
All right. So what is cyber insurance? As we talked earlier on, it's a safety net. It's not a substitute for doing certain things to protect your environment. As we've kind of worked in the industry, things that we says, cybersecurity is like Swiss cheese. You kind of have to go through and have layers of security to kind of protect the holes. There's always going to be someone that wants to get in. If they really want it bad enough, they're going to get in. So we kind of look at the deployment as if people want into the environment, they're going to find their ways in and they're going to do whatever it is to get in because people want it bad enough. So cyber insurance is really there to help you, from financial protection, PR, just public image, getting out there to where you are able to get your business back up to running again. So you're not losing cost or anything like that. It's like I said, it's just a lifeline. We want to make sure that you have ways and you have layers protecting your business, but you also have something to protect your business in case you have to use it, right? So like the break glass instance or anything like that, it's a safety net. So make sure you're keeping that in mind. It's not a solution. It's not something that's going to fix everything. It's just there for you to be protected in case something does happen or when it does happen. Nowadays that we see it is it something is going to happen and what you do is really and how you protect your business and the plans that you have in place to mature your cybersecurity is really what we want to see everyone here utilizing cyber insurance for, is using it as the right tool to protect your business and help get your systems back up and running.
So let's talk about what cyber insurance does cover. And so you can kind of think of cyber insurance as covering the fallout, right? The investigation, recovery, downtime, and also lawsuits that can come from being breached. What it doesn't cover or what it's not providing is the prevention, right? So it is there for that fallout. If everything else fails, this is going to be your safety net. And so the first part here, breach response. I personally have sat through so many of these breach responses, and I've seen the ticket and the bill that comes from these. They can be very, very expensive. It is not cheap, especially to get an incident responder team on the fly to come in and help you through this and navigate it. And so that is probably one of the most critical parts of what cyber insurance does cover for you is that breach response. Not only will they cover the bill for it, but they're also going to bring the team of experts in a lot of cases they will, or they'll work with your existing, IT and cybersecurity companies that you're working with to help get you out of that. Um, in all cases, though, that is a big ticket item that they're gonna help with. The The other thing that is kind of maybe sometimes not thought about is the operational continuity, right? And so business interruption overall, um, compensation to it'll cover compensation to employees in some cases for, lost time and things like that. And what's so crazy is I remember many years ago at this point, I was working with a hospital that had got breached and we'd helped them get out of it. They were down for an entire month. Basically, the only people working were the IT folks because they were trying to get out of it. It was an entire hospital. This was many years ago now, but putting that into, just general context is they were down an entire month. So a lot of folks aren't working, and this is a common thing that we see is you can be down for quite some time. And so what does that mean for your employees and your staff, right? And so that is something that cyber insurance can help cover for you. Another one that is, an important one on here, but it is the ransomware, not only navigation, but also negotiation. And so, in a lot of cases, paying the ransom and trying to get out of it that way, it can actually be illegal. It just depends. However, in all cases, they will help you navigate that situation, which can be extremely stressful, especially if you haven't been through it before, and you just get that pop-up on your screen that says, "Hey, send money here, Bitcoin, download this BitTorrent. This is how we're going to communicate." It could be a very scary situation. And so they will help not only, pay for the negotiations and the navigation of that, but just kind of help you feel a little bit more safe and better about the situation that you're in. And last one, which is absolutely huge, is the reputation of your business, right? And so it's a cost that it's hard to put a dollar figure on it, but being breached, the reputational damage can be devastating for a business. And so the cyber insurance companies know how to help you navigate through this. And not only that, but will help, pay for the PR campaigns, the firms, the press releases, things like that, and help you navigate that situation that can be so devastating, like I said, to business's reputation.
When two things you pointed on as far as ransomware navigation, they these IR teams that they bring in, they've talked to a Kira ransomware group 3 times the past week. They know these people, so they know how to negotiate them. They know their MO. And that's why it's so valuable to have someone in that position to be able to work the negotiation for you. And then the other side of that is the legal side. John had mentioned it may be illegal to pay the ransom. There are certain situations where if we have sanctions against a nation state, against that government that was responsible for the attack, you might be breaking federal law by providing financial compensation to them for paying the ransom. So that legal team, the IR team working together, they'll be able to identify who is responsible. Can we even pay the ransom? Of course, you want to, the best case scenario, you don't ever pay a ransom. You try to recover, but that's not always likely. But it's important to get these experts ahead of the situation before navigating it on your own.
Yep. So, let's now talk about what cyber insurance does not cover. And so probably the biggest one is right at the top there, neglected security. And so what that ultimately means is you as an organization not doing your part in trying to put in your prevention protocols and your policies and things that can help prevent an incident from occurring. And so, if you don't have backups, if you don't have MFA, if you don't have EDR, in some cases even SIM and event log collection, that's neglected security in their mind, and it could prevent you from actually even being able to file a claim or get insurance to start. Right at a later point in the webinar here, we are going to dive into some of the common questions that you'll see on an application. And honestly, over the years, they've gotten more strict and more strict and more strict, and it truly is because there were so many organizations that had cyber insurance but were neglecting their security. And so these cyber insurance companies were just paying out left and right millions and millions and millions of dollars. And so they actually got smart in reality and they said, okay, no, 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 we're going to implement some things that you have to have this in place in order for us to even consider letting you get cyber insurance through us. And so neglected security is a big one we can consistently see. It is important that you take the necessary steps to make sure you can prevent an incident. Again, once you file a cyber insurance, think of it's not a silver bullet. It's definitely it's a seatbelt, right? It'll reduce the impact, but it won't protect you from every crash altogether. If you have to get to that point, now we are thinking about what we talked about earlier of reputation damage and things like that. So it is important that obviously your goal shouldn't be to never have to call your insurance, but it is great to have. Um, Another part that it doesn't cover is inside jobs, right? And so if you have employee related breaches, that is something that they typically won't cover, and it is something we see time and time again, right? Ex-employees working acting maliciously, taking information that could be sensitive, and doing who knows what with the information. Once that's released, you know that you've been breached. Um, Again, it is something we see constantly. So this kind of goes back to the neglected security part too, is that making sure that you have monitoring systems in place to ensure what are my employees doing, what are they doing with that data, making sure that there are data loss prevention type protocols in place. And the last one that is a critical one that we just see time and time again, it is known problems, right? And so think of this like health insurance, right? If you have a pre-existing condition, you typically can't be insured for that. And so what we see constantly is that organizations using 2008 servers or still having Windows 7 in the environment, and that is a huge vulnerability that can be the vector that creates the breach. If that's the case, there is a good chance that you won't be able to file that claim, that cyber insurance wouldn't protect you in that sense. So a lot of things that you do ahead of time to make sure that if you ever do get to that point, you're protected.
I think something that we didn't cover, which, just thinking about it from the inside job perspective too, is that AI is becoming very big in a lot of people's organizations. They're allowing it without fully thinking about what AI can actually attach itself to, right? So if you think it from an inside job perspective, if you're allowing AI into your environment and you don't have the data security in place, cyber insurance may deny that because you've let something in that's kind of allowed data out. So I'm pretty sure cyber insurance is going to start adapting to that from an AI standard, just because they are trying to limit how much they have to pay out. So if you do have AI in your environment, that's something to think about as well. We did do a webinar around AI not too long ago. So if you hadn't had a chance to look at that, that's something to talk about.
I was about to say refer to the last video. Yeah.
So just a reminder
Good
out there,
point.
I know everyone is using AI or wanting to use AI, but there are some things that you have to be careful, especially with utilizing AI.
Absolutely.
Another poll. So which cyber insurance gap concerns you the most? Should I get another pop-up here? Is it poor security practices, insider threats, existing vulnerabilities, system upgrade costs, or assumed breach? A few more seconds. Existing vulnerabilities looks like is the winner here. Assumed breach, of course, you You don't know what you don't know. There could be somebody in the environment now. Of course, it's a huge risk. That's why it's important to have a lot of the controls that we have just discussed. Um, so yeah, thank you for that. So next to cybersecurity versus cyber insurance, I believe
Yep.
Andrew has been on this.
Yeah, so as we kind of talked down the tracks, right? We've laid it out as cyber insurance is basically your safety net. Cybersecurity acts as your frontline shield. It's the layers of defense. Like we said, Swiss cheese. Think of Swiss cheese, right? You got multiple holes, and you're just laying security on top of it to limit the amount of holes. As we've described, if someone really wants into your information or utilize you, they're going to find their ways in. So a breach is going to happen. More or less, what's going to protect you and to show your maturity is how you've navigated your company to protect against that the best you can. So insurers are going to look for that proof. They're going to look for evidence of strong controls. Part of it's like security awareness training. Not only do you have the strong controls, but are you teaching your employees to protect your business as well? A lot of employees may not think of it as like, well, it's not my business. Why should it matter to me, right? Well, even if it's not your business, it's how you get paid. If you don't protect who's paying you, you're not going to have a paycheck from that business. So making sure they understand security is everyone's responsibility. It's not just part of their job. It is their responsibility to protect your business. So the more that your organization is mature and then your cybersecurity program, you can lower your costs, lower your premiums. You just overall show the proof that you are doing what you can to reduce an insurance company having to pay out because you don't have that maturity level yet. So again,
Yeah, well said.
cybersecurity, your tool stack, your layers, cyber insurance is essentially your last line to protect you from financial burden and things like that.
Yeah, no, oftentimes the technical controls that you buy that help your organization can offset the higher premium that you would spend on a insurance policy. Um, and it gives you the peace of mind that you're not paying out tens of thousands of dollars for anything to remediate an attack.
All right. So cost factors and requirements. So, like I mentioned earlier, over the years, the requirements have gotten much stricter, and a lot of the factors that have gone into this have just a lot of the cost factors have just gone up, and it's become a lot more expensive. However, there are opportunities to bring those premiums back down. And so, what I always like to say is, cyber insurance is really, or cyber insurance costs are a mirror of your cybersecurity maturity. And so, the stronger your controls, the stronger your position to negotiate for better premiums. And so, some of the factors that really play into raising those premiums is going to be your industry and your revenue, right? So, highly regulated industries are obviously going to have much stricter premiums and requirements in order to qualify. But in addition to that, revenue also plays a key factor into that. And so they want to know, how much revenue do you have? How many employees do we have? Those are big factors on the premiums they're going to pay out. And they need to understand what your risk ultimately is. Another thing that is critical is the history counts, right? Think of it like car insurance. If you've had multiple accidents prior to this, most likely your premiums are going to be higher. What you can do though, to even if you have had a prior incident, like Jason mentioned earlier, that the lessons learned. And so if you have your lessons learned documented and things that you've implemented in place that can kind of alleviate some of the history count or prior breaches that may raise your costs. Size and scope again plays a lot into just industry and revenue. How many users, how many systems, what is the ultimate risk of your business and the risk that the cyber insurance company is going to take on. But when we talk about, those controls is probably one of the greatest things that'll lower your cost significantly, right? If you have good existing cybersecurity, logging, you have EDR, multi-factor authentication, you're doing user awareness training, if you have an outsourced SOC, these are all things that the applications are going to ask for, which we'll show you here in a second. But those specific controls are going to greatly reduce your premiums because it greatly reduces the risk of you being attacked, or not necessarily attacked, but you being breached and the cyber insurance company needing to pay out. So that is first and foremost, is having those existing cybersecurity controls in place.
So let's go over a few of the questionnaires that we see on a regular basis. The three we have here are your higher insurance companies that fund a lot of the policies that you may get through your insurance provider. Tokyo Marine Travelers Coalition, they're by far the ones we see the most. We try to help our clients to navigate those to ensure that they're answering the questions correctly, or if there's anything that we can put in place before we actually submit the documentation. We could possibly get some of those questions set to yes if we have time to implement them, and then they can submit it for their policy. So one thing I'd like to go over on each one, they've moved up to the top, is prior incidents. They want to see if you've been hit before. And it's not so much the fact that you were hit at one time. They want to understand if you have learned your lesson. You've got those lessons learned. You've implemented other controls in place, so it will reduce the possibility that it can be done again. So they want to understand that first. As we go through the list, I should have put this second on each one, but multi-factor authentication, that is a must anywhere possible. You need to turn that on, especially for inside your organization for any administrative tasks. You want to try to get some sort of multi-factor authentication to be able to do that administrative tasks. In the cloud, that's a no-brainer. You have to find some way to do MFA. Granted, there are ways to bypass a lot of those, but those are typically done through social engineering, which your security awareness program should help you with that as well. So we're talking about the layers here. EDR and XDR, those were non-existent a year ago on the questionnaire. They just asked for antivirus. Insurance companies are starting to bring those forward because that's truly the way that you can protect from things that are unknown. Endpoint detection and response has two methods of looking for malicious activity. Signature-based profiles, signatures that are known, viruses that are known, and then there's behavioral analysis, things that are unknown, but they're anomalous to normal activity. So say Jill is accessing a file share at 2 a.m. when she is never gone in after 5 o'clock. That EDR is going to throw an alert to a SOC team that can possibly go through and isolate that activity. That's something that they want in place in order to ensure that they can insure you. XDR is going a step further. I like to call this looking at your network with both eyes. EDR, you have one eye closed. It's just one part of the solution. XDR, you're talking about a SIM agent. It's gathering all the logs from all of your endpoints and sending it to the SOC team. If you don't have a SIM in place and you try to gather that extra security activity from your machine, it will just roll out and you'll lose a lot of that data. So if you have a SIM in place, it'll be shipped to a central location and correlated so they can determine if there is malicious activity going on your network. Data classification and DLP with Travelers. Travelers is more of a enterprise level insurance company. They delve more into large organizations. So they definitely want your data classified. They want to understand what kind of data that you are carrying on your network. If it's PII, PHI, those are two things that are highly valuable on the dark web. So they want to make sure that you know where that data is at. They want to make sure you're going through a life cycle. Do I still need to keep this data? And do I have something in place that can prevent it from leaving my network? That moves into data loss prevention, DLP. So there's quite a few things here on this list. Some of the things are going to make your technological control budget go up. So you need to understand how your business works and how many things you can afford in order to allow your business to operate properly. We only want to put the controls in place that are going to fit your organization. And lastly, on the Tokyo Marine security awareness training, that's something I actually should have put at the top. My paramount control that I suggest to all organizations is security awareness training. The human element is by far the weakest link in the organization. So you need to show them real life scenarios of phishing. You need to test your organization monthly, if not quarterly or annually. I like to do it monthly. That way people slow down and understand what they're clicking on or who they're talking to. They need to question everything that comes through email. So it's important to have this awareness training, not only through phishing. You want to make sure you're educating your team, either through meetings. We have town halls monthly where we dedicate information to security first, and we discuss everything that has gone over the last month and what are the new security industry protocols that we can put in place. So talking to your organization about security and making them part of your security team is highly valuable. And a lot of that can be done with little to no budget. One more thing, financial verification policy. Coalition, I think, was the only one that had that, but anything that has to do with a financial transaction, people that succumb to BECs, business email compromise, will have a threat actor that has been in the system for possibly weeks, and they'll understand how people talk to their clients. With AI, it makes it much easier for them. So they can go through and figure out the little cues with how they write and tell somebody at some point that, hey, this last invoice, this needs to go to this ACH number or routing number instead of the one you have on record. Those are where those red flags need to pop up. And if you have a financial verification policy in place, you can have two-factor. You have at least two individuals that can review and approve any wire or ACH transaction. And you can set a monetary threshold. You want to call that person back out of band. Make sure that you talk to the actual person or find somebody that regularly talks to that person and can determine if that was actually them that's made the change. And then log all of those approvals. And better yet, if your bank has some sort of vendor verification, make sure you put that in place. All of these things are very easy to put in place. We've seen it constantly where somebody just sends off a check for $30,000 or an ACH. And after a certain period of time, that money is just gone. So if you don't have that policy in place now, I think it's important that you do so.
Absolutely. One last thing I wanted to jump in here with the XDR piece. Only some of the questionnaires will have a requirement for XDR. However, if you can show that you have XDR to any one of them, there's a good chance that they'll bring that down, the premiums down a little bit. And the reason for that is because if you are breached, one of the very first things that the forensics team is going to ask you for is the logs. They're going to come in and they're going to say, where do you have your logs? Where are they stored? How can I search them easily? In some cases, when you don't have that already in place with the SIM and XDR, that means that the cyber insurance company is going to have to end up paying more because the forensics team might have to go to every individual system to figure it out. If you make their lives easier, they know it, that brings your risk down. So I think it's a critical thing that everyone could be doing as well.
I think the other thing important to keep in mind is not every security tool that you have is set it and forget it. Especially like security awareness training, right? If you expect the tool just to kind of do its job without doing like what we do for the town halls of security first, just having those conversations, your organization is not going to adopt to that as a security minded organization, and you're relying on the tools too heavily. It's very important to have conversations out there. Like when we do our security first, a couple things that we bring up, like the phishing, so video phishing and aspects of it, because it's more than just phishing now that's out there. It's people actually getting smarter or utilizing AI, because the cost of AI to make a fake video isn't that high. I mean, I think Jason on one of the security first trainings told us that the cost was actually $450 to have someone make a fake AI video of you.
Yeah, you get 40 grand out of a $400 video.
Yeah.
That's fairly lucrative. That's a lot of profit there.
Or the other side of it is, Clorox. They had a big incident because someone reset admin credentials for someone that wasn't a part of the organization. So having those talk tracks, having people just be aware and just making sure that you're showing that your awareness is there as well, it's going to make a lot of different changes and challenges go away, because people are starting to talk about it. They're, it's like almost like a short. Shorts come up so often just because it's there, but if you have those short conversations, people are going to have it in the back of their mind and just think about it. So keep that in mind, is not every single tool is a set it and forget it. You need to be engaged with it. And other things like with multi-factor, I know that was one of the biggest thing, is like it took a lot to get people to get it to adopted it. But as people started using it, they just started clicking yes for everything. But we needed to make sure people stop, look at what they're approving. If they didn't request it, hit no, right? If you just see it pop up and you're like logged in, don't just hit yes, hit no, because you can always go in and pop it up yourself when you're at your login screen. But if it just randomly pops up, hit no. Always hit no.
So another poll here for everyone. The question, how confident are you in passing a cyber insurance audit today? So you should see a little pop up. You're either very confident, somewhat confident, or not confident. Maybe a couple more seconds here. All right. We have a tie for very confident, somewhat confident. Whoever put not confident, thank you for your honesty. It's a common thing. Got to be honest. But no, that's great. So I mean, to me, that means a good group of us have good cybersecurity policies and controls in place, which again is going to only help us go through those audits and file our claims if it is ever needed.
And some of you might have already gone through an audit and things like that. So you have an idea of what they're looking for and what they're asking. So that's definitely a good thing to go. If you haven't gone through an audit yet, or you're not confident and you don't feel comfortable bringing it up here, feel free to set up a meeting with us so we can understand, like, why aren't you confident? Let's help you get to the confident level, because if you have all the things in place, the policies in place, you're training your employees, you should be confident in at least passing your audit, or at least understanding what you need to cover your gaps for. So one of the things we want to make sure is, your steps to get covered. Start with a comprehensive cybersecurity risk assessment. If you haven't had an assessment done to understand what your gaps are, very important to do. I mean, because if you don't know what you don't know, right? You don't know what you're missing, what people don't know, what gaps you might have, if you have any gaps. It's kind of hard to keep score if you don't know what your score is, right? Strengthen your weak spots. So anything that goes through and you find out as a gap, find what it's going to take to implement it. Don't just leave it there on the box being unchecked and no plan for it. One of the biggest things from any insurer provider, they're going to say is like, all right, so what is your plan to get protected, or what is your plan to cover that gap? Even compliance requirements, right? A lot of compliance requirements, they understand not everyone's going to meet that compliance requirement, but they want to know, when is your plan to get covered, or when is it going to be compliant? As long as you show you're getting, and you have a plan and path, a date or something to get there, they're going to say, okay, we'll re-audit you and see if you actually got there. That's how they're going to fact check you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. So once you have those, you understand what your risks are, you understand what your gaps are. Applying becomes very simple, because all those questions that we've kind of pre-surfaced you with, you're going to know beforehand of, you're either going to answer yes or no to them, or you have a plan to get there. The other things that you may consider too, you'll hear this a lot in the security industry, is frameworks. There are a lot of different frameworks, such as NIST, CIS, Center for Information Security is what CIS is, Internet Security. So if you have a particular framework, or you have a compliance framework such as HIPAA, FINRA, or anything like that, there are tracks that you can show that you are going down a specific framework. Insurance policyholders, if they know that you know what framework you're gearing towards, that can also help reduce your premium costs, because they know you understand what your risks are and what you're trying to cover for.
One good thing about you discussed CIS. CIS, I believe I'm for version 8 now, but they have 3 different levels, and you can focus on little bits at a time to attain like level 1. Level 2, once you've accomplished just the basic controls, you can then move up to 2. But they've organized the control list by risk, and a lot of the things that are very basic can be very easy to implement. So having that framework in place can give you a nice roadmap and can allow you to develop that policy, teach your employees on what they need to be doing, and possibly roadmap a budget in order to achieve a higher level of CIF's compliance. So staying covered and lowering the costs. Once you get this in place and you want to maintain your level of security, it's important to make sure the team stays sharp. You want to be able to perform audits. You want to make sure that you have controls in place that tell you everything about your network, because you don't want to lose all of the work, the hard work that you put in order to maintain that lower coverage, and for the most part prevent any sort of attack. Training your team. Again, like I said earlier, that's why security awareness training is so important, that human error causes most of the breach. Making sure you're talking to your employees. You can even send out an email on a regular basis. That's something very simple, and possibly get some sort of feedback, required for feedback from those messages. You can go so far as to actually incentivize your team on helping the company stop threats. Something very small could help prevent a large cost later on. And then you want to be able to test preparedness. So we talked about incident response plans, and there's actually a few questionnaires that talk about tabletop exercises. And it's a sense a role-playing game where you simulate a specific type of attack. It's kind of like Dungeons and Dragons at work. So one thing I like to use, there is a organization called Black Hills InfoSec and they have a game called Backdoors and Breaches. I don't know, that's probably backwards for you guys, but um, it's just a card game that has different types of attack, ways that that attack can grow or move laterally within the network. It may have a few controls in place that you may have for that scenario. But when you do any sort of tabletops, you don't even need to have this if you're well versed in it. But it's worth going on YouTube and watching an actual tabletop occur. And doing this on annually, at least annually, will help you determine, are we ready for an attack? When we do it every year, there's always something like, oh yeah, that's right. Let's take a look at this again to make sure that's in place. So it starts the conversation that you need to have, and that normally doesn't happen in just with regular business. Take that time to to practice and do tabletops. I think it'll help your organization immensely.
Absolutely. Practice makes perfect, right? And it's great to have an IR plan. However, if you've never practiced it, you've never gone through it, you definitely don't want the first time you're going through it to be when you actually need it for a real life scenario. Um, uh, those practices are going to help you identify, hey, oh, I wasn't ready for this part of it, or I didn't think about this. It would have been nice to know ahead of time. So making sure that you guys are practicing that, at least like Jay said, on an annual basis, will make sure that if it ever is needed, you know exactly the steps to take.
And you can
Yeah.
remain calm and cool during the whole
Yep.
situation.
Yep.
Yeah. So like if you
That would be nice.
Yeah, so if you like did what Jason suggested and you have, your off network binder incident response plan, right? Running through it helps you make sure that everything is still the same. If anything's changed, then it's your opportunity to update it. But it could be as simple as, actually calling your insurance provider to say, yes, we have a risk going on, but knowing how long it takes for them to actually answer on their side, because that could be a scenario where, all right, you have your IT team working on trying to at least control and contain things. Someone else could be calling the cyber insurance policyholder, your cyber insurance, to actually start the policy to get the claim going. So because hey, it takes 15 minutes for someone to answer on that side.
Yeah.
So with here at High Touch, we try to make things easier. A lot of our talk points right now, we want to just make sure we can educate everyone around there because security changes so quickly, IT changes so quickly. So with us, we have over 40 years of serving small businesses, medium-sized businesses, and just different levels of expertise across IT, especially within compliance and everything like that. One of the things that Jason didn't mention, I mean, he actually has a master's degree for cybersecurity. So something that, it's very difficult to obtain. And Jason, one of the most knowledgeable in security because he practices it, he preaches it, and he wants to teach it and make sure everyone's educated around it. We wouldn't be such a security first company without his, thinking and understanding and making sure we can all understand security at to the level that we can understand. So it's definitely one of the things that we want to make sure, and we're teaching out to the rest of not only our clients, but any future clients of ours. So if you do have questions or anything like that, we want to be there to help you be a security first company with that approach.